welcome to the Startup Grind.
So, without any further ado, I'd like to bring up Jeana Jorgensen. Come on up. Come on.
Thank you. That's the only time in my life I'm ever going to get an applause like that,
Yes,
so I super appreciate it.
Yeah, it's not normal for most of us, that's for sure.
I didn't quite get, she just said, pick a celebrity, and I was like,
What time?
okay, Ruth Bader Ginsburg, and she was like, okay, great, and so I didn't know what context it was going to be used in, so super helpful to know.
Yeah. This is, it was funny, we started this introduction thing, and Larry's been Startup Grinds for years, he knows this like I do, but we started doing it because we learned that when we first sit down and we do intros and we thank sponsors, it's 5 or 10 minutes of bull stuff. And so we wanted to create some energy and enthusiasm, so we learned doing this, and now almost every Startup Grind chapter does this.
Wow.
Like, it's a thing, right? So,
it's actually amazing, I will tell you, walking up here.
Yeah.
It was amazing. You guys are a really good crowd.
Yeah, so thank you for being, again, for the people who have not been to Startup Grind, it is truly just an interview discussion between two humans. If you have questions, hold them till the end. You'll have a Q&A. But if it's a burning question, you just can't hold it, feel free to interrupt. It's not going to kill us. So, so hold your questions. But like I said, if you have something really important, we want to hear it. But thank you for being here, first of all.
Thanks for having me.
Yeah. What's funny is we booked this like October.
Yeah.
It was way back.
Yeah.
So we had no idea we were actually going to be here. Because
that's right.
I was still going to be at Galvanize, so we moved our event here.
And we love this space. That was not a plug. We love this
Yeah,
space.
totally. So I do too. That's obviously why we're here. So it's a great space. But thanks for being here. And can you tell the audience, because when you and I met, I was super enthusiastic because I was just surprised of the changes you guys have made at Microsoft and what you're trying to do for startups. So can you give them the elevator pitch of how it's changed? Because 3 years ago it was a whole different ball game. I mean, it was something that it was a who cares.
Yeah. So I run what's called the Microsoft for Startups program. It was formerly known as something called BizSpark. Anybody familiar with BizSpark? Good. Well, it's good. At least in Seattle, we should know that. And BizSpark was a great program. It was run more like a marketing program where we were giving out credits, and we were trying to win this credit war. And we quickly realized, well, that's not super effective, right? You could just keep giving out people, millions of dollars in credits, and at the end of the day, they would the churn was pretty high. They would just move over to AWS and get credits from them, then go to GCP, and then come back to us under a different name and ask for more credits, and just this very circuitous path that we were seeing. And I took over the business about a year ago. And the thing that was really interesting to me, I'd been on what we call the ISV business, the partner business at Microsoft for a very long time, and been working on what we call Azure, our cloud service, since its inception, since before we'd even written a line of code. I was asked to go recruit ISVs to use this cloud service. And so many of the people that we worked with were startups. And the thing that they asked us for very simply was, hey, I need a distribution channel, you guys got that, and I need access to customers, and you guys got that. And so we said quickly, this isn't really about just giving out credits. It's around how do we differentiate our offer in the Microsoft for Startups program, and then how do we be of service to these startups and give them what they need. But that's also in alignment with where Microsoft is going directionally. So we said, all right, let's take a look at the landscape. Where can we win? Where can we have the biggest impact? And how can we be a best service to startups? And we said that focus really is on B2B. It's around giving them access to our distribution channel. We have 300,000 partners around the world that resell stuff. And we're going down a path right now where we are giving them incentives to sell third-party apps and services from startups and from our ISV partners. And we have a pretty large access to an enterprise customer base. And so we said, great, let's start paying our sellers to sell third-party apps and services the same way they sell Office or Azure Plumbing today. I want them to sell a startup solution in that same exact way, and I want them to get paid to do it. And so about 4 years ago, we launched what we call our co-sell program. And it's all about giving people who are in that program access to enterprise customers and paying them to do so. So our sellers retire quota based on selling your solutions. And so we're really focused in the Microsoft for Startups program about not just credits. We do have a set of credits and offers we give, but we also give technical support with that. We also give go-to-market support with that. And so when you enter our program as a startup, You get designated a point of contact that helps you navigate your relationship with Microsoft. And then when you reach that co-sell eligible status, there's a set of criteria to get there. We then assign you a success manager that helps you navigate your go-to-market relationship with Microsoft and its channel. And so those are the things where we feel like are really differentiated. We're putting a lot of time and energy into helping our enterprise customers digitally transform, and we cannot do it by ourselves as Microsoft. We need the innovation that comes from you guys and the innovation that comes from our entire partner ecosystem. And so it's not just about, I joke with people, I'm like, we're plumbers. In the Azure business, we're plumbers. We sell plumbing supplies, essentially. And we need really smart people to go put interesting apps and services that are helping companies transform the way they do business. And that's what you guys do. And so we said, what's the best way we can be a plumber, right? What's the best plumbing service we can provide? And how do we give startups access to the things they want? And so we just turned the whole program around and said it's really going to be focused on those B2B startups. Now, we do work with consumer-based startups, but to be honest, we tend to see them not as loyal to a platform, right? And we tend to see like, hey, our real bread and butter and where we can really have an impact on a startup's business and help them grow is in the commercial space, is giving them access to customers, is giving them access to that channel. And so that's the real area of focus for us going forward.
And how long did it take the internal workings to understand that was the path you wanted to go down? How long did it take you to make that shift? Was it
about 3 minutes?
Really?
3 minutes. So I, again, having been worked on the ISV business, and just if you look at our startup space and you just look at the analytics behind our business and where we were pleasing our startups the most, it was in the B2B space. Where the people who were most happy were the people who were
customers.
Yeah, they wanted customers. And then we said, how do we double down and do this even better? And so Microsoft is a very large organization, and then we have a large, very, very large customer base and an even larger channel. And when you think about that, how do you as a startup navigate all of that? And so we said, we're going to put somebody on point who knows how to do this, that sits with the startup and helps that startup navigate that relationship and navigate their go-to-market. And that was so quick to turn because everybody got that that's what we needed to do. It was so obvious. So by the time it came to me, I was like, let's go. It's pretty easy to do. We already have the engines from our partner business. And so what do we need to do for startups that's giving them everything we... Do you want to just pick that up? I can say hello if you want me to. Oh, that was you? Oh, I thought it was your phone. Calling out the wrong person. I'm so sorry. So unfair. But thank you. I love the accountability in the middle of the room. That is impressive. Right there. Oh, I have examples like that all the time. Don't you worry. I just have to heckle when I can. That's it. It's the only thing that brings me joy in life sometimes. That's right. I know. I feel that. So where were we? How long did it take to be there?
No. Forget it. You answered.
Yeah.
You're good.
We're good.
Totally good. Okay. So let's take a couple of steps back about kind of your last few years at Microsoft. I mean, you've been kind of all over the place there. So tell us, like what was the path? I mean, you joined and you had your grand kind of idea of what you wanted to go. Like, how did Jeana do her thing in Microsoft? Like, what was the
as it relates to startups?
Yeah, not even necessarily startups, just more like how you got your path. And I've got some other questions.
I will be super honest right now. I have never had a skill set for any job that I've had at the company. I've been at Microsoft 18 years. And never had I had a skill set. It was always somebody saying, hey, I like the way you sweep the floor over here. Do you want to go sweep the floor over here on this thing? It was like you did something in a division where somebody thought you did okay work or decent work, and they wanted you to go do it again. Every job I've had has been like that. It's been a tap on the shoulder to go do something in another division. And for me, I started out only working for companies that were less than 30 people. So Microsoft was the antithesis of the company I ever thought I would work for. And if I'm being perfectly honest, every year I was like, what am I doing at this company? It's so big. And every year it exceeded my expectation on every front for what I was looking for in my employer. And that's why I stayed. And every year I reevaluate, am I still getting at something new out of this company? Am I learning something new? And am I being of service to the company myself? Am I doing my best work for them, right? Because I feel pretty loyal. My resume was nonprofit and healthcare, did not know the difference between an Intel chip and a potato chip, and they hired me. And I will tell you, I felt like they took a big bet on me. And so every single job I've had, I said the only thing I need when I started Microsoft on day one is I need a technical mentor. Plop. Sitting next to me was this poor PM who had to sit next to me for the first 2 years. And he taught me so much. And I was a product manager for a developer product, for Windows CE, which is a componentized operating system. What? Like, that's just crazy. So I couldn't have had a more technical PM role coming out of business school. And I will tell you, we look for great utility players. And that's been my whole career, is just try to look at a problem and go simplify the issue and try to make sense out of chaos. And so that's kind of what every job has been the same. But I get to feel like I work at a different company with every job I've taken.
Exactly, yeah. And so what do you think has changed? I mean, because Microsoft has changed, at least from the outside, looking in, like all of us are, right? Because we're not inside Microsoft, outside of like 3 people, 4 people. How is that new CEO change, all that changed? I mean, because we see some very positive things happen, and I see some super positive things happening from the startup environment, from the garage and M12 and you guys. Like, where's that coming from? I mean, like, what happened to make that change?
Well, I will tell you, a lot of times it's just sort of the times you're in the industry, right?
Yeah.
And when I started the company, it still has all the same threads of when I started at the company 18 years ago, right? It still is a company that gives you tons of autonomy, asks you to take risks. Back when Bill Gates was running the company, it was take risks, go try, go test, and do different things. The way we did it is a little bit different, right? There was this mentality of, hey, just go do it and ask for forgiveness later. But there is still a little. I mean, that's all still true of Microsoft. The thing of what I love now, and sort of with Satya, and again, I worked in his division on the ISV business before he became CEO, and it's no secret he's a wonderful human being, period. He's just an amazing CEO, but he's just a wonderful human being. He is in private who he is in public, and who he is as a CEO, as he is in a room with one person. And so that just culture of listening and curiosity and showing up and being showing up. And what that means is when you're in a meeting like this, are you on your phone? Are you listening? Are you engaged? How are you showing up in the world, whether that's at work, in your private life? And I love that he lives and breathes this notion of he is so present. He is omnipresent, because that man is everywhere. I've never seen him. Every time people are like, oh, I was just meeting with your CEO. And I was like, how is that humanly possible? Every single time he's everywhere, which is amazing. But he has this notion of it doesn't matter who you are. He is intensely listening to every human being who he comes across. And I just have always really respected that about him. And that is what I think the industry is seeing. Our whole company start to evolve in that way. And I will say one last thing, and this is something for you guys, is how many engineers do we have in the room? A good fair amount.
Yeah.
As an engineer, you are trained to find the inefficiencies. You're trained to find the issues in everything, right? Which means when you have a problem, you just want to go solve it, for one. And 2, you're trained to pick apart everything that somebody is presenting, every idea that somebody is presenting with you. That's not a good idea because this, or that's not a good idea because this. And you're trained to find all the things of why it won't work. And that culturally is hard in a company full of engineers, right? Where they're trained for years and decades to act one way, to go into a culture where it's about curiosity and asking more about why did you think that way rather than you're wrong, right? And so it's been so fun as an engineer by trade. Satya is like that. But then watching all the rest of our engineers come to the table with listening ears and not thinking every idea is a bad idea. They're coming going, okay, well, maybe there's merit to this. Maybe there's a different way of looking at this problem rather than, I know how to build this thing. I've known it's right for years. And so I love that cultural mentality of twisting everything that we've learned on its head and really focusing how everybody individually shows up in their personal lives, and you show up at work, and you're present, and you're listening, and you're focused. And that is just about efficiency, and that's about making people who you're talking to understand that you're listening to them. And I think that, for me, is what the industry has really picked up on. They know we're listening, and that is a cultural, ingrained way in which we operate. And I love that that's just coming to the forefront, right?
Yeah. And Jeana, how big is the team? How big is your team?
100 people.
100 people?
Yep.
Okay. And how many offices around the world?
Oh, goodness. We have people in over 20 offices, but we operate in over 140 countries in terms of our expansion, our reach.
Yeah.
And Microsoft is a company of about, any given time, 130,000 people.
Yeah. So, yeah.
So we have a good army behind us, which is great.
Yes, you do. Yeah. And like for the people that are getting into the program, right? First, what's the filter? Like, what's the filter? I mean, there's a filter, obviously.
There's always filter, yes. We're looking for people who are focused on B2B, the commercial space. Seed and Series A, so we're looking for people who have a product.
Have some money in the bank?
Some money. Yeah, well, we're looking for people who actually have a product that they can sell into the enterprise or sell into a customer. If you're just in beta and you're looking for somebody to test it, market viability, that's not the area that we focus so much. We have a bunch of community efforts and technical events where you can come at large, but we don't technically and typically spend one-to-one time helping somebody productize something. Yeah. We want to have somebody who's got something in market that we can bring in front of an enterprise customer and hopefully get them to at least try it or buy it at best, right? And so that's what we're really looking for. Yeah. Typically seed Series A is, no more than 10 million in annual funding. We fudge some of the guidelines, if you will.
Sure.
And we do work with some consumer companies if it's a really compelling idea. But again, our bread and butter is in the go-to-market, right? If you look at Amazon, GCP, so we're, you normalize it over a 12-month period, we're all kind of at feature parity, we're all kind of at price parity. Everybody develops great technology. Everybody can drop their price. It's super easy to do that. So where can Microsoft really differentiate itself with the startup community? It's in helping you build a business and making money. And so that's where we've vectored a bunch of our resources. And now we have the 45,000 sellers around the world galvanized to go sell third-party apps and services on top of selling Office and Azure. And that's a really, really compelling force that we have behind the Microsoft for Startups program.
Yeah, you would probably rather just have that. No money, don't give me money, don't do anything like that, don't M12, no, I don't want any of that, I just want your customers, I just want access to your customers, which I'm sure you've heard.
We do hear that a lot.
Yeah, exactly. Because you want customers that can grow your business, and there's no better way to grow a business than having customers. Yeah, especially paying customers. Paying customers are better.
Paying customers are good customers.
Paying customers are great customers, by the way. Where do you think it's going to be in 2 years? Like 2 years, 24, that's a long time. I mean, in my head, that's way out there, right?
I know.
In a couple of years, where do you think the program's going to be? I mean, you think it's going to? To me, it just seems somewhat. It's not limitless, but it's got a lot of room to do a lot of things. And where do you see it, since you're kind of running the show?
Yeah, for me, there's always going to be a market for startups because there's always new ideas. The startups have been around since the beginning of time, and whether we serve them well or not, we can argue all day long. And the thing that I actually see in the next 2 years is us just growing the amount of people we can serve. We're already talking about how do we serve early stage startups in a more effective way than we're doing today, and more advanced startups, right? Series C startups. And so I kind of see that expansion, because if you look at a startup, it's just a baby ISV, really. I mean, I don't. It really is unless you're looking for a quick exit. What we're trying to do is help these people build businesses, right? We're trying to help each and every one of you build your business and make some money and grow you into a program that, the rest of Microsoft and the rest of our customers can find and see. And for us, it all starts with, how do we promote you in the most viable way when there's a whole bunch of partners with great solutions out there and a whole bunch of startups with great solutions, trying to figure out how to help you differentiate in that market. And so that's where I think we'll spend more and more time on customization of startup offers and really trying to help discoverability. This is going to be a huge issue for all programs and all service providers going forward, is discoverability of these great solutions. I will tell you, which is really exciting to see, 3 years ago, I was working with a bunch of startups. I wasn't running the program, but I had a bunch of startups coming through our go-to-market and recruit motions. And I felt really bad because we were able to bring in the big global ISVs. I could bring, Siemens and Barracuda and these big ISVs into the enterprise accounts, and they were just sold, right? It was like, oh, great, thanks for the introduction, and there was great co-selling. I couldn't get that with startups because every enterprise was like, are they going to be around in a couple months? I'm not. They were so nervous. Now they're begging, they're knocking at our door for show me innovation, because everyone's building with all these enterprise customers seem to becoming partners in the sense that they're trying to monetize net new revenue streams, and they're doing that by acquiring ISV and startup solutions, right? Or they're doing that by bringing them in and integrating them into their just normal course of I would say, IT
Just
deployment.
workflow,
Yeah. And so now there's such a fervor and excitement for it's almost insatiable right now in terms of bring me innovation, and I don't care who it's from. If somebody's got a great application or service, bring it into me. And so we almost right now, to be honest, just meeting the demand of those that we can bring into enterprise customers who want to see disruptors, people who are doing different things than the routine things that we typically have seen historically from our bigger partners, right? The disruptors are very, very exciting to the enterprise right now.
All those guys are willing. Show me something new that's disrupting something.
Yeah.
Because it's helping them grow. Where is the where are some opportunities? If you and I are starting a company next month, right? Yeah. Where would you say, hey, Mike, this is what we should look at? Where do you think? Give me some ideas of where you think there's some opportunities.
Yes, well, there's always going to be opportunity in AI, but I will tell you about that. One thing to know is, so everybody's an AI company that we talk to, and everybody's an IoT company that we talk to. I'm like, that doesn't even sound like AI or IoT. You're using Excel for reporting. That's not AI. And but I love that people are using our technologies. But so I would say within these areas of innovation, because there's tons of work in the vertical space, in the industry space right now. We have pivoted all of our sales force to an industry momentum because there's more and more excitement from verticals rather than horizontal workloads like big data or security or whatnot. There are very, very distinct requests for industry-based solutions. So I would say we would pick an industry and build something great that has true AI capabilities using Microsoft Cognitive Services and some of our core tech. I think that's, if I think about where Microsoft's really wanting to showcase its partners, you got to be using our stuff. So kind of core basic fundamentals. We want you using our stuff. And the second piece is using sort of the more advanced services, our bot services, our cognitive services, our machine learning capabilities. And I would go do it in a vertical. Now, that's not to say if anybody in this room has a horizontal solution that you shouldn't keep doing it, because there's tons of needs, but you have to verticalize your value prop. You cannot go into this pool of, I'm a security provider.
Well, you can't boil the ocean.
No one in our channel and no one in our sales force even knows how to bucket you, because that's not the conversations they're having. They're having verticalized conversations, and that's more, I would say, more prevalent now than ever. And so it's not to say that you can't have a great horizontal workload-based solution, but you've got to have a vertical pitch.
Yeah,
that's what I say.
It's plus as a startup, it's probably not the best advice of trying to go horizontal. It's just because it's a lot of stuff.
Yeah.
And a vertical approach is so much easier. Well, it's never easy, but it's more focused. It's a better word.
Yeah, I always tell people it's the only time it feels good when you are actually put in a box. Like you want sellers in our channel to say, I know exactly what to do with you, rather than, I'm going to put you over here in this amorphous box with the last 300 people I've talked to. And so the more verticalized and specific you can, even if you can serve the world, just start nailing an industry, nail a niche. Pick the Northwest region in healthcare and identify the top 5 customers you want to go after in that region and start there. That specific. That's
you can boil the ocean, but you have to pitch the niche, right? You have to pitch that.
Yes.
Because then people can say, oh, that's a tricycle, not a bicycle.
Right. It's very true. And I will tell you also, it's not just a startup thing. It's an every partner thing. Oh, you're in 140 countries. Oh, you have 300,000 resellers. I want access to them all. And I was like, oh boy, we are not going to have a good time because it's so hard to serve everybody, right? And we fail repeatedly when you try to be everything to everybody. And I know that's so obvious, but I can't tell you how often people see and hear Microsoft and think, that's my sales arm, that's my marketing arm now. And they don't invest themselves and have skin in the game and get focused. And so my team, I love them to death. They are so trained to know that we pick very, very opportunistic partnerships where we can say, this is the vertical and here's the pitch. And we actually run it by our sellers in advance of putting you in front of a bunch of enterprise customers to say, does the solution hunt? Is there an opportunity here? And if they say, yeah, I get what they're doing, great. But if they say no, we go back to you, and I will tell you this, certainly in our business too, you are probably very desensitized to how complex your value prop is. And the best thing in the world is Sesame Street simple. Like, it has to be so simple that somebody who just hears you for 2 seconds understands exactly what you do. And so we do test it with sellers who are selling the kitchen sink and they're selling all these third-party solutions. And we're seeing which ones go, oh, I got this, and I can see how it applies in my 3 core accounts. This is great. All right. And that way we can help startups, set expectations properly and get them prepared to get in front of enterprise customers. Because if you go in there and you're unclear, that's a poor shot for you and a poor shot for us.
Well,
right?
yeah, because you don't want your reputation marred either, right? You want to make sure they're worthy.
Yeah, and I want them to be prepared, right? Because there's nothing more I want than every single startup we work with to get sold into the enterprise. Like, that is, we are on a digital transformation journey. Where's Josh? There he is, exactly. Josh and his digital transformation technology. That's all we're talking to our customers about, right? Is their digital transformation, and we need really interesting solutions to take into those accounts.
Yeah, absolutely.
That's it.
Hey, can you guys hear us back there all the way in the back? I just want to make sure. Bob, you good? Okay. I forgot to ask.
Does the row in the front sound like we're yelling at you?
Well, you
guys are like, oh,
I can't tell. This is my first time in the space. I don't know. I can't have a feel for it.
Yeah.
So when you are, because one of the things I think that you haven't spoke about yet, but you will now, is you guys have some super smart experts in many fields. I mean, whether it's AI or machine learning, whatever it is, you guys have, one of the top in the world somewhere, probably. Right, so
I think we're pretty good.
Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. So, like, how do you, again, going back to our story, you and I are starting a company. How do you engage that startup with that super smart person?
Yeah.
I mean, I'm sure they're kind of available, but it's not like you can just call them on the phone and say, "Hey, Joe, I've got a question here."
But interestingly enough, it is a very small company. I say 130,000, that sounds like, well, it's a really big company. But it is like high school. It's a small company, and everybody knows everybody. And I will tell you, it's super easy to get people excited about startups. We have this thing called, Friends of Microsoft for Startups, and we got people all day long who want to go talk to you guys. And we're, and so there is no shortage of engineers, of industry sellers who want to talk to startups and find out what they're doing. And so getting those connections is super easy, right? My team has a long tenure at Microsoft, so we've been in a lot of different jobs, so we know a lot of different people. But people, it's so interesting because we're getting asked, do you have a startup that does blah? All the time. And so that's really fun. Like, getting those introductions is easy, and engineering actually has not a quota, but commitments around meeting with startups and meeting with partners and meeting with customers. So it's just, hey, it's more calendarization than anything else, right? Can I get your schedule to meet your schedule?
Yeah, I've heard stories. I don't know who I was interviewing, as Lisa, or I don't know who it was, somebody over there at Microsoft, and they were saying that Satya literally meets with some of these startups.
All the time.
Like you're in the room with the CEO, and he's just asking you questions.
Yep, he is very approachable.
Yeah. So when you are
that doesn't mean I can get a meeting with Satya.
Yeah, exactly. Room, but FYI, get an email tomorrow.
Set proper expectations. Yeah.
Can I get a touch base? So again, leveraging, utilizing that expertise, the brain power that you have over there. What is the best way to do that? Like what's the best way to do that?
Yeah, so there's broad forums, right? We are always constantly doing forums where we've got engineers that are basically presenting out to a group and just sort of sharing what's happening in the industry in their particular space or their feature, right? And so we have those kinds of things all the time that are just open to the public and anybody can attend. It's a matter of letting you know what's available. So we have all kinds of open.
How do I know that? How do I find out that it's available?
Well, what we want is we want people to join the Microsoft for Startups. We want people to join the Microsoft for Startups programs. Yep.
Yeah. So they can just be on the email list and
then we notify people, hey, this kind of thing is happening.
Okay.
And you can choose to attend or not. And there's also, we off of just the core website, right? There's a list of all of these different events that are happening in those particular categories related to docs. But you can go talk one-on-one with engineers. Typically what people want to know is, okay, what is it that you want to talk to me about, right? So you have to have a clear agenda rather than, I just wanted to meet you because you seem to know a lot about whatever tech, right?
Yeah.
Or whatever business. And I think that's the thing, is right, the clarity on that. But when you're in the Microsoft for Startups program and you're using our technology, there's no shortage of people who want to talk to, and to be honest, sometimes it's super overwhelming. Once Microsoft gets a hold of you and you're doing something interesting, everybody is like, oh, I want to introduce you to my enterprise customer. I want to talk to you and you can tell me how this feature can get better. And so sometimes we try to, when I mentioned earlier, when you get into the program, we assign you a point of contact. We kind of help filter some of the madness and help get you tell us what you want, and we help go get that for you.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, so
that's the easier way.
You have a coach, so to speak.
Yeah, but there's all kinds of technical and business and community events happening all the time that they're free, that you can go attend. There's webinars online. There's things face to face, like these kinds of events, and they're happening all over the world.
Yeah, and Jeana, is this something like this, like you being here? I forgot who introduced us, but is this something that is internally saying, hey guys, you should do more of this, or is it just, or not?
Yes, absolutely. So we have what they're called cloud developer advocates, and they're on the technical side, and then I have a set of people who are managing directors that are on the business side, and our job is to get out in the community and talk to people, right? And to let them know what we're doing, because I think Microsoft's not the default. I would love for Azure to be the default cloud platform of choice for everybody, but we're not. We are a little bit late to the party, and we know that, but we're making up some really solid ground, and I think we've got some really compelling ways in which we're supporting startups that I think are super differentiated. When you start paying our channel to sell your stuff, and we're already paying our sales force to sell your stuff, no one else can go out and build a network like that overnight. No one else can go build a channel like that overnight. That is where I will stand up and say, this is where Microsoft really excels. We typically have more of a humble approach to the market, but this is where I feel like that's a really good, strong step forward, is the size of our channel, and the size of our customer base, and the size of our sales force. Yeah. And if that's of interest to you, then that's that's the compelling reason to come work with us. You know?
Exactly. And your ability to attract the cool startups. Now, cool, I'm not saying.
Oh, I'm like, don't tell me cool.
Not the word cool. I mean, I'm thinking like the technology that is useful and is going to move things forward, move the needle forward. Not cool like Uber cool or whatever. But Uber's not cool, is it? I don't use Uber. I'm a Lyft guy. I refuse to use Uber. Just FYI. I'm FYI.
You're a bus guy.
I do like the bus. I love the train, by the way. I'm a big fan of the train. My wife laughs at me all the time. I love the train. How is that? Like, where's that going to go? Like,
this is super interesting. So we've had this debate internally with all of our executives who are working on our startup business, and everyone wants, well, where's our next Uber, for your example? Where's the next Snapchat? And I remind everybody every time, this is industry. You're not going to know who the next big disruptor in healthcare is that's doing medical, electronic medical records. Like, if anybody knows that name outside of Epic, right? Like, great. Well, you're just not going to know those names. And so I think we're kind of not about the cool thing. We're about who's got something compelling to offer the enterprise. Yeah. And if cool becomes that in an industry, because this is if Kensai becomes the big name in healthcare, which is one of our really, really powerful startups that's based out of Seattle, if they become the next big healthcare disruptor, great, then Kensai will become a household name. But how many people have heard of Kensai, unless you're from Kensai in this room, right? No one, and I don't expect anybody to. What I do want is all of my enterprise customers to know who they are, right? So that's where I've moved away from we've got to be cool and we're looking for the next cool thing. And I know you didn't mean it like that, but we even have that debate because everyone's like, "Where's my next Snapchat?" And I was like, "I'm not going after Snapchat."
You're not going to find Snapchat.
No, because and Snapchat is not going to be loyal to our platform. Nor do I have a whole bunch of compelling things that we can go offer them from a go-to-market standpoint. Again, tech for tech, pound for pound, dollar for dollar. Everybody builds great technology, and I'd love to say that we're building the best technology, and no one's ever going to build as great a technology as we are. But people are smart everywhere, and people build great tech everywhere. But again, it comes down to how do we differentiate and stay differentiated, right? Technology differentiation only lasts so long in a market. Price differentiation never lasts in a market, right? Mm-hmm. So those are the things where you think, what is the thing that's sustainable? And for us, that's the go-to-market. How do we help people build a business? Yeah. And that's where we stay focused.
Yeah, exactly. And are you, how do you guys do outreach, or do you do outreach? Is it just all inbound? How do you find Mike in Wichita, Kansas, who has this cool healthcare startup?
Well, I will tell you, and my team's probably going to slap me for saying this, but we do a couple of things. We have this thing called open nomination, where we want to make sure all ideas are heard. All ideas, great ideas, don't just come from San Francisco.
Really?
And there is a belief that is true. There's many great ideas that come from the Valley, but there are so many interesting ideas from the guy in Wichita, So we have this notion of we want to make sure we're getting awareness out about the program in general. So if people feel like Microsoft's an interesting business to go get the enterprise, then they'll come to us. And we're getting a lot of people who think, well, okay, who's strong on the enterprise? Seems to be Microsoft, and you seem to be partner-led, so therefore they're coming to us. But how we go reach out is we have 3 ways that we do it. One, we have a pretty heavy data science model that uses a bunch of external data sources to tell us what are the external demand signals that make this startup the next compelling one for us to go after by vertical. And it uses rounds of funding, it uses serial entrepreneurs, it uses all these external demand signals, and it says these are ones to go target, and then we go proactively reach out.
Did you guys build that?
Yeah, we built that.
That's cool.
Yeah, we got a pretty hardy data science team. So we built that, and that's our what's our dream list, right? But that's constantly changing, right? Think about that. Having a roving target list is tough, but at least that's the way we start going. And then we have managing directors all around the world that are getting involved in the startup community and hearing from people about what they're building and talking to them and bringing them in and inviting them in. We have a ton of VC partners. We have M12, which is our investment arm. It used to be Microsoft Ventures, and now it's called M12. We get referrals from all of our partners, our third-party accelerators, VCs around the world that we partner with, all kinds of tech hubs that we partner with, and that's another way that we get referrals in. And so that's a big piece. And then the last piece is just sort of technical outreach. We have a bunch of we call those cloud developer advocates that are out all around the world, going, I just talked to this really cool startup doing X technology. We got to get them in the program. And then we have the Microsoft sales force, and they are out identifying startups for us all day long. Like, oh my gosh, I just talked to someone. Or, hey, in my enterprise customer, we just did this, I will not name the name of the customer, but we did this deep dive with their CTO, and he showed us all of the partner companies, all of the partner companies that were in their tech, in their environment. And we're like, oh my gosh.
That's cool.
There's 42 of them, and hey, you know what? 38 on our platform, and there's 4 that are not. Let's go get them. And so those are all different ways in which we look about how do we go find stuff, right? And go reach out. But again, I'm not trying to find the next Snapchat. I'm trying to find somebody who's impacting the enterprise in a very positive way. When you talk to
the enterprise CTO, they're going to know cool companies because they're working with cool companies.
Yeah.
I mean, cool companies to them.
And the beauty of what we're seeing right now is our enterprise customers are telling partners, unless you're running on Azure, not interested in working with you. And so we actually have enterprise partners that are booting partners out of their environment because they're not running on Azure, because they're a Microsoft shop, right? And that for us is paying off in spades right now, because before, again, Azure wasn't really a thought, but now customers are asking for it. The Dynamics platform is experiencing the same thing, so it's really fun, as somebody who's worked on Azure since the beginning of time when they weren't asking for it. It's really fun to see that turn the corner. So both the startup, turning the corner on startups and saying, I don't care, I'm never going to ask you the question again around whether they're viable or not. They got some interesting tech and I want them, either via acquisition or because they want them to partner with them. And the same thing on Azure as technology.
That's great.
Yeah.
And so where do you think let's talk a bit about Azure, because I know you're intimately knowledgeable of Azure. Where do you think that is?
Where do I think Azure's going? Please don't ask me one of those questions.
No, not like Azure's going in that sense, but like, where do you see it as the emphasis for Microsoft?
Is it in terms of its importance?
Yeah, like
it is.
I'm hoping it's going to be bigger. I'm assuming, right?
It is probably the most important thing for our company.
Oh, it is.
Cloud service.
Okay.
Yes.
That's what I wanted. It's like I just wanted to hear where it was in the hierarchy of things to do.
Yeah, it is the number one thing to do right now, and then I think that's what's very exciting. Again, we think about where we're going directionally, and we were started in the business 8 years ago, and to where we are now. It is the core platform for the company. It is the way in which we are going to market from a sales perspective, from a marketing perspective. Okay. Modern workplace, which is all the office and productivity tools, super important to the company, will always remain a very important piece of the company. But Azure is the platform on which we are trying to basically get everybody to use, right?
Yeah. Yeah. So
Cloud platform of
that's
choice.
your lead.
That is our lead dog.
That's great. And where do you where do you have the most fun? Where does Jeana have the most fun?
Inside of work or outside of work?
No, inside of work. Inside of work.
You know, for me, it's actually getting out and talking to partners. I get, because of the nature of my role, I get pulled into a lot of like, fix this internal thing, go make sure this works, go write business requirements. So engineering thinks about partners as a first-class citizen in terms of tooling and telemetry and measurement. And the startup piece of my business is it's the part that's just the most exciting. It's where you see the coolest stuff. It's where you see people the most excited, and it's sort of where I get my energy all the time, which is why I want to get out and talk to people, because I can sit in Redmond all day long and fix this process here and fix this process here, and you know. But at the end of the day, for me, it's just getting out and talking to startups and seeing what's possible, right? And all of the interesting ideas, and seeing, wow, that's super relevant to this customer I just talked to.
Connecting
the dots.
Even the startups, connecting startups to one another.
Yeah, it's amazing. And you know, our CEO will sit in 3 and 4 hour customer meetings with the CEOs of these major enterprise companies, just talking to them about their digital transformation, and being able to go, I can see where this startup fits and this startup fits. It's so great because, again, these guys are looking for very prescriptive guidance on how do they start to digitally transform businesses that have been around for 100 years, right? Traditional businesses, transportation businesses, shipping businesses, you know, and the enterprise is really so much more nascent than where you guys are in terms of use of technology and what you're building. And so it's just fun. It's fun to be able to map the two together and just see what opportunity can come from that. That's where I get super jazzed. I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
And I think everybody does. If you talk to anybody on my team, when they're most happy and most excited is when they're out talking to customers and partners.
Exactly. I mean, no, there's some people who like to build process.
Yes, there are. I appreciate them so much.
We love those guys. Where do you where does your team? Where's your team? Your team, your 100 humans. Where are they spending most of their time?
Where are they spending most of their time?
Yeah, the 100 humans.
I'd say in 3 core places. So I have more than just Microsoft for startups. We have what we call our marketplace. I'll give you my pitch on marketplace in a minute, because I got my marketplace guys in the back going, don't forget to talk about marketplace.
Give me a little lead time.
That's right. So I think about startup a bunch, and then there's marketplace that we do, and sort of our modern commerce, basically. How do we get people in a modern commerce platform where I can get resellers to sell first and third-party services together, right? Basically, effectively putting all of you guys as a SKU on Microsoft's price list is what we're working on. And that's something that partners have been asking us for the last 35 years. And this is the first time in the company's history where we were going to be in our product catalog. And so that's a big place where we spend our time. So startup outreach, huge portion of the team's time.
Sure.
And then I have another team that's really thinking about industry and category management. So that's another area where are we finding the best startups and partners to go serve these customers in this industry.
Okay.
Yeah. So marketplace, can I just give you my marketplace plug? As all of you are thinking about your distribution models and how do you get people to see your stuff, sell your stuff, just awareness of what you're building. Most startups that I've talked to and work with start with a direct sales force, and they have their engineers as their core sales lead, and they're out there trying to build technology and sell something at the same time, and they haven't thought about a channel as part of their distribution. They haven't thought about what their business model looks like in terms of how they're going to pay a channel, how they're going to pay their direct sales force, and how they're going to acquire customers. It's usually the last thing most people think about, and it's one of the things that we want every engineer and every business and every CEO to be thinking about is how do they use marketplace as a distribution mechanism. And when I say marketplace, it's just an online place where people can find stuff. And so Microsoft's our strategy, and we see this in all the trends. More and more enterprise customers are buying software online, right? Just like the whole consumer trend of, we first bought, we were okay buying toothpaste online, and now we're buying diamonds, right? Everybody in the enterprise was comfortable buying email, comfortable buying web conferencing, and they're starting to buy more and more workloads through an online marketplace. All of our, AWS has recognized that, Google's recognized that, Salesforce has recognized that, Alibaba's recognized that, Microsoft has recognized that. All of our data, if you triangulate all of our data, it tells you people are buying more and more enterprise software online. So you guys should be thinking about, how do you architect for those marketplaces? How do you architect for commerce? And what we're doing in our marketplaces is we are wanting to make sure that you transact through that marketplace, because then when you transact through that marketplace, this is what I was saying, you're essentially on our product catalog as a SKU, is what that means. So any of our resellers around the world can sell Dynamics, and then they can attach you to it, right? That is a very, very powerful channel. And most people think about marketplace as something very, very different, right? They think of it as, it's an online catalog where I can find a solution. Our marketplace is a very different strategy than that. It is, of course, a catalog where they can find first and third-party services, but we are training all of our customers to know that they can go to a marketplace and find what they need from Microsoft and its channel and its entire ecosystem. Our startup solutions, our ISV solutions, our managed service provider offers, our SI consulting offers, they can go to a marketplace to find those things, and we will be transacting on their behalf. And so that's a pretty powerful thing that you have at your disposal if you're running on Azure or Dynamics. And so I feel compelled to have you just at least think about that as a channel. You have to think that as a distribution mechanism rather than just going direct yourself off of your website and hoping people find you, right? That is one mechanism, but marketplaces are another core distribution mechanism for you. And of course, people build up individual channel relationships. If you already have a channel model where you've got some resellers or you've got systems integrator partners that are helping sell your stuff, marketplace is another way in which you can work with those audiences still, but get broader global promotion, right? Again, marketplace is promoted into 140 regions, right? All of a sudden, you've got exposure to a really large reseller audience and a really large set of customers, and if Microsoft is pointing its customers to that place and you're there, you got a pretty good shot of people seeing you. And so that's where I would really encourage people to think about marketplaces all up as a core distribution where you're going to get the most leads.
Yeah, and like you say, everybody's doing it at some level. I mean, you have to.
Yeah, and a lot of them are product catalogs today, right? They're just got an industry category and some workload categories, and it's search here, and then you click off into somebody's, it's a listing opportunity, and you click off into somebody's website. We're really doing more than just a listing. We're doing listing, the ability for you to trial if you want to, and the ability for you to transact through there if you want to. So that's a really big distribution mechanism. Yeah. And thinking through that is important.
Questions, guys? You can put those in your head. Go ahead, Larry.
So I've gone to a Microsoft partner,
okay.
and thus you're accessing the marketplace in that way. How does one go to the core of the marketplace to go to anyone out there? I mean, how do I get that?
Yeah, so you're using marketplace in two ways. Right. You're using marketplace as sort of a big thing to talk about the channel in the industry, like the market, right? We're talking about a very specific online marketplace for distribution, right? So we have this thing called AppSource, which targets business decision makers. We have a thing called Azure Marketplace, which targets IT and dev. And so the big difference there is it's just a matter of exposure for you. You can absolutely go out, and we encourage you to partner with any of our Microsoft partners, but that's always a one-to-one custom developed relationship. And if you are in the marketplace, AppSource, Azure Marketplace as an example, any additional partner can see you and be able to transact you if you choose to do that. And so it definitely accelerates your way in which you can build out a channel and build out your distribution and get more leads quickly. I encourage you to always do both, but so many people aren't really thinking about how they architect for an online marketplace these days. They're like, it's a listing and I might get a lead or two here, but it's far more than that. And especially in the future of the way enterprises are buying, you want to get in front of that. You want to get in front of that. If more and more people are buying through an online marketplace, you want to be there. You want to be there early.
So I feel like I'm bridging into the curse of knowledge. You're imbued in this. You're in it all the time. Yeah. And now you talk about two distinct, separate marketplaces.
Yep.
But you're using one. Get into the marketplace, and you've just told me there's two. I
think that's super fair. So think about them; they're just storefronts, right? They're tied to a target audience. Yeah.
But what is the one or the two that you're speaking of particularly?
You need to think about your target audience. So if you're targeting business decision makers, You want to be an app source. That's the place you want to be.
IT,
If you're
you wanna
targeting
be an
IT
Azure.
and dev, then you want to target Azure
And
Marketplace.
are there others?
Yeah, there's others. Those are the two primary cloud marketplaces that we're promoting. And so those are the places that if you're running on Azure, that's where you want to
And
be.
so how do you find, okay, well, I want to look for stuff. I
Yeah.
like the Microsoft platform, and I want to look for their marketplaces. How do I find where those are?
You can.
I'm sorry, I don't.
That's okay.
I don't-
You can use your search engine of choice.
Oh, yeah. I get it. I get it.
Search engine of choice.
One way, yes. But
yes.
You, are my
You mean
search
Google.
engine
You
of
can
choice.
you can go to azure.microsoft.com, which is just the Azure website, and it'll point you out to both of them right there at the top nav. You can find it that way. And then there's full publication. How do you publish? Like the IKEA type directions on how do you publish in the marketplace. Your whatever one you need, it tells you, it walks you through first, figure out who your target audience is and where you should be, and then here's how you actually publish your offer. And it walks you through step by step of exactly what you need to do. Regardless of your technical implementation, it'll tell you, okay, if you're an IaaS implementation, you do it this way. If you're a SaaS app, you do it this way. And it just literally walks you through step by step.
Okay.
Does that help?
Thank you. Yeah.
But that's a great call out because you're right. I use that term very generously too, right? And
I'm probably the only one who didn't know that.
no. I guarantee you there are a lot of people who didn't know that.
All the way back.
Oh.
So I'm working with a startup right now that wants to work with Microsoft, wants to go to market with Microsoft. We've had some early conversations with people who are at Microsoft working on this specific thing. But if we want to go to market with Microsoft, is it better to come directly to you?
Not to me directly, but to startups at Microsoft.com. You're going to get way faster attention if you go to startups at Microsoft.com. Yes. And so that is the place that gets you to say, hey, what do you need, right? And they'll walk you through. If you're like, hey, I want to go to market with you, and then you say, great, and I'll say, okay, what technology are you running on? And if you say something other than Azure, they're going to say, oh, well, let's help you talk about how you can architect for Azure first, because our program runs very much like a loyalty program or an airline rewards model, right? The more that you consume and do on Azure or Dynamics, the more benefits you unlock.
And what was that website, just so everyone hears it again?
Azure.com. Azure.microsoft.
Startups.
Oh, it's an email address.
Yeah.
Startups at Microsoft.com.
Sorry, yeah, I'm at address.
You got it. Startups with an S. Startups. No hyphen.
Startups.
Plural. Startups.
Okay.
So I wanted to ask you about Azure because of your expertise. Where do you think the Azure will take place in the 5G market?
Oh, yeah. Where do I think it's going to be? It's so funny. We were just talking about. It's funny
The
when
question
you
is
think.
where it's going to turn out with, where's Azure going to turn it into and work with 5G? So
Yeah, I think what you're really asking is more of an IoT question. I think
Well,
is
it's
what you're really asking.
Because of all the desktops probably going to disappear and it's going to be just screens running on the cloud.
That's a very
pulling all the
futuristic
information.
sense.
That's
Yes.
very real.
It's super real. I'm just
Yeah.
saying it's not tomorrow, right?
It's going to be
They don't all
maybe
disappear.
2 years or 3 years.
Yeah, and I do think that you're asking more of an IoT question, right? Like, where are we going in that space? We've just did a $5 billion investment in IoT. And so that's really what I think what you're asking. We've had lots of conversations about that. I mean, Azure wants to be the plumbing underneath every single IoT solution, right? And so that, in an ideal state, right? We know everybody wants to do that. But IoT can be in every category. Like, again, you talk to every single startup and every single partner, and everybody's in IoT, even in healthcare, even in, I get manufacturing, there's a super close tie, but like every vertical we talk to, like, I have an IoT solution for education. I'm like, oh, so this, okay, let's talk about how that works. So it's so omnipresent. All Azure's position in any of this stuff really is we want to be the plumbing underneath. We want to be able to, we want you to take every creative idea you have and build on top of it. It's a platform play for us no matter what. And so that's the position we see. We don't, we're not trying to take over the world and have every finished app and solution for every market. We want to be plumbing. We want to continue to be there. And we want to be able to provide the best foundational services for you to build the best, most creative app. And IoT is a huge push for this company. AI is a humongous push for us. And again, super broad categories, but it really depends on where you're focused. And so to come in and say, hey, I'm in IoT, it's fantastic, but where are you in IoT? What are you doing? And take the conversation to where it's super applicable to a scenario that somebody can sell. Right?
And take a little deeper. Where is if you pick the top 3 industries that you believe that Microsoft is the most either beneficial or has the most expertise, or however you want to label that? What would be the top 3?
So we have basically 6 that we really focus in on, and you could name 20 that are important, but there's really 6 that we really, really deeply focus on. Let me see if I can name them all in the right way. So retail, financial services, we have healthcare is a big one for us. Government is another big one for us. Did I say financial services already?
Yeah.
Financial services, manufacturing, and education.
Education. Okay.
And then, of course, there's gaming is super important to us as a company,
Yeah.
right?
Sure.
We're never gonna give that up, right?
Yeah.
And Azure has a really big play in gaming right now. And so those are the ones where you think about where our sellers are aligned, where our channels aligned, those are the big 6.
If you're fitting in one of those 6 boxes, you've got a better shot than...
Yeah, but it doesn't mean, like, if you're doing something really niche in an industry that I haven't named off, that does not mean there's not an opportunity, right? But those are the ones where we have Salesforce alignment, marketing channel alignment, we have offers, we have distribution channels aligned. It's kind of where the big engines are, right? Yeah.
So you were mentioning about the marketplace on azure.microsoft.com.
Yeah.
It's a great place if I already have a solution. But what if I don't have a solution, but I'm willing to provide my expertise on cloud, on Azure specifically for other startups that you are working with?
So
I
you're...
I can provide the expertise.
Oh, so you're providing expertise to the others, to the startups that's entered into this program.
Yeah, there's 2 things you can do. You can still have an artifact in the marketplace. You can have an offer or a consulting offer in the marketplace, which would look something like this. I don't know if your service is a freemium model or what it is, but I'm just going to throw one out for you. I have a $5,000 offer that gives you X amount of consulting hours and does Y for you, and then we can promote that from our website, right? It's a very different channel than distribution. And I would actually, second thing you can do is you can talk to our team about what is you're doing, and they can look at what you're offering and see if that's something we want to put into our base offer of offering that out to the startup community. We have very few, outside of like Adobe and the big companies, very few people who are doing something targeting the startup audience. So that's, certainly talk to the team. There's Raj right there, Miguel right there, Nuno right there, those 3 wonderful gentlemen in the back.
Potatoes.
Yeah, and they can certainly talk to you about that. Or you can go startups@microsoft.com and you can send the same inquiry there.
Ross.
So say you have a client and they say, we have funding, we have engineers, we have a product, we want to platform customers from you, we need to make those introductions, go to Microsoft Marketplace. Are you going to say, great, we'll turn you loose? Or are you going to say, wait, you don't have an actual business, we're going to sit you down and help you build that? And if so, is there like a templated process, or is it very customized?
Let me just make sure I understand the question. If you don't have an actual business, but you have a product.
I'm saying hypothetically. Just, if somebody comes to you and say, we have a product, we don't really have a business, are you going to intervene and kind of set them up with more of a structure and a process around it, or just say, here's your customer?
Well, we do expect people who are coming to us to have a business. And if you have a product, I think most people have a business. I think. Maybe I'm wrong. But usually, right, there's somebody who's got an idea of who they're targeting when you build something, right?
Yeah.
You don't solve a problem not knowing who you're solving it for. And so you probably have, that situation probably has more business than you think they do. And so in that sense, we look and see who you are. If you're super pre-seed and you need some just consulting or you're testing market viability, we have some options for that. But our real focus is this a viable product that we can take in that has a team behind it that is credible and they have an offer that customers want to buy?
And that's the business.
Yeah, that's the business. But I think, but if you said, like, I have a product and it's built, you probably have more business than you think you do, I'm guessing.
Yeah.
Or you have a bad product.
Or you have a bad one. Well, that's true. Yeah. That's very fair point.
It sounds like you guys took some time and put a data-driven model behind what makes a good startup. And is that different for these different verticals that you've pulled out? Or do you have some common themes that stand out?
Well, in terms of what we look for in a healthy startup,
Do you have a checklist?
the checklist manifesto. Yes, we have a checklist of things. We have checklists, yes. We have things that we look for in startups. We look for credible founders. We look for a credible story when they're giving us the pitch, because a lot of times, like, I sit and I hear pitches all the time. Here's what we do. I want to get introduced to Walmart, as an example. And if I can't understand it, then we have a different conversation, right? But I look for credible founders, a credible value prop. Our whole team does, right? And then we try to guide you in the right direction, which is where are you, right? Are you again testing market viability with something, or are you ready to go and you're just platted on somebody else's on GCP or AWS or some other technology, and you're thinking, hey, I'm getting pressure to scale my business now, and I think I can do that through Microsoft. The conversation that we have then is like, okay, how do we help you get up and running on Azure or some portion of it? So then we can get you in front of our sales force, and so we can get you in front of that channel. But again, it's all of our benefits unlock the more that we show commitment from that partner, right? So the more that you show commitment to the platform, the more benefits we unlock. And our sales force isn't fired up about selling somebody else's stuff, and they don't get paid to sell somebody else's stuff. So really, we want to make sure that we understand what stage you're at. So we look for credible founders, credible value prop. We look to see, especially, do we have other startups that are meeting this particular need? So hopefully you're niche enough that we can say, okay, wow, I know right now, retail is screaming for more solutions, right? There's a whole bunch of retail solutions out there, but they're screaming for more and more and more, as you guys can imagine why, right? And so we can't get enough retail solutions in front of our retail customers. Same thing in healthcare right now. We just can't get enough. So I look and say, wow, is this a really credible founder? Is it a really solid pitch? And is this filling a void that I have right now in our startup base? I do also look for, we want a diverse set of founders in our portfolio. I really look for that. I want to make sure that we have diverse in terms of background, diverse in terms of gender, diverse in terms of race. I look at all of those things and say, we want to make sure that the technology we're putting forward represents the people, right? And that's a really important piece for us as well. We look at a number of factors, but we want to know that you got your act together, right? And a lot of that is required from, hey, do you have a set of investors that we know that are credible? Of course, they've already signed up with you, so therefore it invested in you. So therefore, we're going to take that as another thing on the checklist that says that you're viable and interesting.
It's the same. You're talking to a VC. It's the same concept. It just happens to be their currency is their channel and sales and all the smart people they have over there. It's the same. You still have to impress it just like you would a VC. They're not going to act any differently for the most part. Yeah. I'm just going to ask the same questions.
Yeah.
It's not rocket science. Go ahead.
As far as sales enablement, we have third-party solutions, BDMs, TDMs. Do you do all your sales enablement collateral in-house for field sellers? Like, are you training people with collateral? Or
your collateral? So when we're saying, hey, we're going to sell your solution, do we build your collateral for you?
Or is it the third party? Yeah.
Yeah, so what we do is so you're in the marketplace, and marketplaces are super Darwinian, right? That's the first place we say that is your launch pad for partnering with Microsoft. If you have no other way to partner with Microsoft, the first thing you want to do is get discovered in the one place where everybody's looking. So we look there and we see, hey, we do a whole bunch of co-marketing around the artifacts in the marketplace. When you reach this co-sell eligible status, which is a certain level of usage on Azure or Dynamics, then we put you into this program, we onboard you into the co-sell program. And all that is we test, do you have a good pitch? We have a set of bill of materials, it's 4 items that we look for, and we build that with you. We say, what do you got? Well, give me your pitch deck. All right, what would you take in if we brought you into Tesco tomorrow? What would you take into them? And we look at it and it's like, oh, it's 57 slides. Okay, no, let's get down to something digestible and make sure your value prop's there, and we get all of that ready and ingested for our field sellers. And then we actually flip the quota switch, which means when you have met the eligibility requirements and you have the bill of materials that meets the bar, and you're clear on your value prop, we flip the switch, and then that's what starts retiring quota for our sellers. So we handhold you through that onboarding process. And again, when you reach that status in the startup program, we assign you a success manager. So Raj in the back is one of our success managers, and you get assigned to a wonderful Raj or equivalent thereof who helps you build a 6-month go-to-market plan. And it's filled with co-marketing activities and a set of co-selling activities, whether that's targeted account planning, whether that's introducing you to your top 3 channel partners you want to build, whatever that looks like to you, because we have a menu of a whole lot of things we can do. And so we build a very simple 6-month go-to-market plan with you, and then we help you execute that.
Awesome.
So that's what that looks like. So we don't just throw you in there and say, giddy up and go. And that's where the startup, I'd say jump starter accelerants come into play. We give you all the same things we give to our partner channel, and then we give you a set of extra white glove treatment.
2 questions, guys.
what do you see in the field of education? Like, is there anything exciting happening, and like, kind of where are you moving? And I just wonder if you could talk
In the field of education?
Yeah.
I'm not the resident expert on education, but the trends that we're seeing, still tons of e-learning scenarios, lots of excitement there. We're seeing a whole bunch of things in the space, which is weird to say, but in the space of AI and education. Like I told you the other day, I was like, someone's like, I've got this AI solution. I was like, fascinating. We're seeing more and more of that, and whether that's just analyze, like again, in the education space, it's so vast, right? If you're talking K through 12 or you're talking upper education, I mean, everything from analyzing recruitment and applications all the way through to analyzing student impact and graduation rates and whatnot. So we see all kinds of stuff. E-learning is probably where we have the most categories of people in education, the most categories of startup solutions there today. But yeah, we can do a follow-up, and I can certainly, lay those out for you around education and really where we're investing. That's what I see,
Okay.
not being the resident expert specifically on education.
One more question. No questions.
I think they already asked a lot of great questions.
Yeah, that's great.
Congrats.
Great answers. Yeah.
That's great. Okay, so a couple things. This is our new residence for Startup Grind. So we're here again next month, last Tuesday of the month, which happens to be the 26th of February. We're going to have Oren Etzioni, who's the CEO of Allen Institute of Artificial Intelligence. So super brilliant guy. He was at Startup Grind 5 years ago, first time I interviewed him. So a lot of things changed since then. But anything about AI, he's brilliant. So he's here in that chair. Next month, and then we have a AR/VR panel discussion on March, the last Tuesday of March. So that's our next few months looking out. Anything else I needed to do? Sheila, did I forget anything? Sorry, one more thing. We start at 5:30 from here on out. This is instead of 6 o'clock. We'll be at 5:30 start time instead of 6. So if you show up at 6:30, you're going to be SOL. I think that's it.
Sponsors?
So, what's that?
Sponsors?
Well, Crate 33 is obviously the amazing sponsor that helped put this on. So, thanks for these guys. And I love the space. During the day, it's spectacular. When you can see
I know.
Yeah.
It's a great view.
Yeah.
Just can't
Yeah.
see it.
Summertime. Yeah, that too. Most of all, I have to thank our wonderful guest, Jeana. So thank you for being here. It was wonderful. Thanks for being so open and presentable, and
thank you for all of your
smart
great questions,
and
and thank you for that intro. I'm gonna live
Yes.
live on that for the
Exactly.
next 20 years.
Yeah.
Remember that time?
Remember that time?